These days, most writers draft their stories on a computer or some other device, and we do this because of the convenience of technology. But there are still some advantages to actually handwriting your first draft, and today I'm going to be discussing those. What's up, guys? My name is Brandon McNulty. I'm a writer, I'm the author of Bad Parts, and welcome to my writing channel. One of my subscribers asked the question of whether or not you're better off drafting your story by actually handwriting it with a pen and paper or typing it out on your computer. And I'm sure most of you are thinking that the answer is obvious, that you should just type it out on a computer because we have the technology, it's readily available, it's convenient, there's so many benefits to doing it this way. But there are some major advantages to drafting your story with a pen and paper, and these can help your productivity as well as your creativity. I'm going to be discussing these in a little bit, but first I want to say right up front that with first drafts, you have to accept that 99% of the time, the first draft that you write of a story will be garbage. It'll be something that you need to throw out because it's a mess. Now, with that in mind, let's take a look at the question of whether or not you're better off handwriting your stories or typing them out on that first draft. We'll start with handwriting your stories, and one of the major advantages to handwriting your first draft is that you are free of distractions, particularly the distractions of the internet and all your apps and your Steam game collection and your emails and everything else out there that can just sidetrack you whenever you feel frustrated or whenever you hit a wall with your writing. The second benefit to handwriting your stories is a risk-taking mentality. Here's the thing about handwriting your story. When you handwrite your first draft, you know 100% that that first draft is never going to be sent to an editor, an agent, anybody who makes the final decision on whether or not that story will be published. And with that in mind, when you handwrite your story and you know that you're the only one who's going to be seeing this, you free yourself up to take risks. You free yourself up to be imperfect. You shed that perfectionism that often dominates people who type up their stories, because sometimes when you type up a story, you have that pitfall where you start believing that, oh man, this is going pretty good. You know, I think that this could potentially be the final draft. And if you start believing that, you will all of a sudden start getting much more conservative as far as your creativity goes. You won't be taking as many risks because you think that, oh, well, I don't want to screw things up here. I got something good here. I want to just kind of land the plane here. Third benefit to handwriting your stories, no temptation to edit as you go. A lot of writers, when they're typing up their stories, they like to go back a few paragraphs and make something perfect, and then they tweak that for 3 hours, and then a few months later they end up deleting the whole chapter anyway, so it's just a waste of time. If you're writing with a pen and paper and you have permanent ink and you're just cruising through that story and you think to yourself, oh, you know what, a few paragraphs back I kind of wish I had changed that sentence up a little bit, too bad. You're stuck with that sentence. You're just going to have to accept that you can fix it in the rewrite or something like that. Now, the last benefit as far as handwriting your stories goes is a psychological one. And the thing is that you can psychologically separate your drafting process from all your other writing processes, whether they be related to your fiction writing, or maybe they're related to writing essays for school, or writing an angry email to a coworker, or whatever it may be. You have so many different writing processes that take place on your computer, and a lot of them are stop and go. Sometimes when you write an email to somebody, you type out a sentence and you say, no, I don't like that, I gotta rephrase it, and then you're back and forth for 5-10 minutes until you finally send it off, and there's no flow, though. That's the problem. When you're drafting a story, you want that story to just come out. You want it to be unimpeded. You want the pen to keep moving. And if you're somebody who rarely handwrites things, you might want to keep that method sacred and reserve it for your drafting, for your first drafts of your stories. This can help you separate the process and maintain that flow as you're writing. Now, there are, of course, some drawbacks to handwriting your first draft. You have to worry about things like getting hand cramps. You have to have a pen and paper. This can cost you money, and you need those supplies. You also have to retype your story no matter what you do. I mean, there's just no way around this. You can't submit a handwritten draft to an editor or an agent or someone like that. And unless you have very good handwriting, you're probably not going to send a handwritten draft to your beta readers either, because I don't know any beta reader that wants to sit through 70,000 handwritten words. So, I mean, you just have to be realistic about certain things. And then the final problem with handwriting your stories is that if you lose or misplace it, you're probably never going to find it again. Now, with typing out your stories, you do have some benefits. You have something that's going to be more organized, readable, and adjustable. If you want to send your first draft to a beta reader, they can always just adjust the font size. They can change the font type. If they don't like Times New Roman, they could switch it over to Courier or something like that. Another benefit is that when you type out your stories, you have something available that you can copy and paste into your second draft. Now, like I said, you're most likely going to just scrap your entire first draft, but sometimes there are chapters or sections that actually do work and you can actually carry them over to your next draft. And it's a lot easier to just copy and paste them than rewrite them. And then one final benefit to actually typing out your first draft is that you can use certain writing programs to enhance the experience. You can use things like Word or Scrivener, or you can even use a program called Write or Die, which actually forces you to keep writing. And if you do stop writing, the program will actually delete what you've just written all the way back until you do start writing again. So things like these different programs can help you get better organized, they can help you keep track of things like word count, or they can keep you motivated. And the downsides to typing out your story, we already talked about some of these, the distractions, especially with the internet, and then also you have to worry about the temptation to edit as you go. That perfectionism is something that can really keep you down. And then one last pitfall to typing up your stories is that some writers, especially new writers, tend to cling to their first draft. And this is something you don't want to do because, as I talked about, you want to be rewriting in that second draft. You want to take the mistakes that you made in the first draft and you want to throw those out while taking the good ideas and rewriting the story with those in mind. So I hope this helps. Question of the day: how do you feel about handwriting a first draft? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to support the channel, please pick up a copy of Bad Parts if you haven't already. Also, be sure to check out my other videos. Hit the like and subscribe buttons for me. Share this video with a friend. And as always, remember to keep on writing.